Sylvester Stallone just admitted he violently hated Arnold Schwarzenegger for over a decade, fueled by deep jealousy, bruising insecurities about Schwarzenegger's 6 feet 2 inches frame and 7 Mr. Olympia titles, and an obsession that drove Stallone to extremes like cutting to 5% body fat for Rocky III. Now at 78, Stallone confesses to a truth that would have been unthinkable at the height of their rivalry. Why did two legends who defined action cinema sabotage each other so ruthlessly, only to end up as brothers? The answer changes everything you thought you knew about Hollywood's biggest feud, and it starts with the one thing even superstars can't outmuscle. Standing at 5'10", Sylvester Stallone spent years staring up at a standard he could never quite reach. Arnold Schwarzenegger's shadow loomed tall, 6'2", a 57-inch chest, and a body built for victory. The difference was more than just numbers. Stallone's every glance in the mirror became a silent contest he never asked for. Driven by a need to measure up, he pushed himself to the edge of human endurance. For Rocky III, he dropped to an astonishing 5% body fat, surviving on a diet of tuna, egg whites, and brown rice. Training sessions stretched to 3 hours, twice a day. The goal was to look like he belonged on the same poster as Schwarzenegger. But the more he sculpted, the more distant that goal seemed. Schwarzenegger's competition weight hovered around 235 pounds, muscle stacked on muscle, carrying the confidence of 7 Mr. Olympia titles. Stallone, always the underdog, saw in Arnold not just a rival, but a kind of physical inevitability, a man born to dominate. Every magazine cover, every gym rumor about Arnold's latest feat fueled a cycle of self-doubt and obsession. For Stallone, the rivalry started in the flesh and bone in the gym, under fluorescent lights, where every pound and inch felt like a verdict. The competition was not just about movies or fame. It was about whose body could carry the myth of the action hero further, and what it cost to even try. Hollywood rarely sees two stars rise so fast, so far, and so close together. In 1976, Sylvester Stallone delivered Rocky, a film he wrote, starred in, and fought to make on his own terms. Rocky did not just win over audiences, it stormed the Academy Awards in 1977, taking home Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Editing. Stallone's own nomination for Best Actor placed him in rare company, and the underdog story became a cultural landmark. Meanwhile, Arnold Schwarzenegger was building a legend of his own, but not on the screen, at least not yet. From 1970 to 1980, Schwarzenegger dominated the Mr. Olympia stage, claiming the title 7 times. His physique was not just admired, it was mythologized. Each win cemented his place as the world's greatest bodybuilder, his name synonymous with strength and discipline. These parallel breakthroughs set the stage for something bigger than personal rivalry. The industry saw two unstoppable forces, one the scrappy screenwriter-actor who conquered Hollywood's toughest crowd, the other a living sculpture whose victories redefined what a body could achieve. Studios, agents, and the press began to frame every move as a contest. Oscar glory versus muscle supremacy, acting acclaim versus athletic dominance. With both men drawing headlines and fan devotion, the question shifted from who was the best built to who would become the face of an entire era of action cinema. Studio accountants kept score as fiercely as the men themselves. By the late 1980s, Stallone and Schwarzenegger weren't just building muscle, they were building empires. Each contract negotiation became a contest. When Stallone landed a record-breaking deal for a Rambo sequel, Schwarzenegger's next film would leapfrog that figure. By 1991, both commanded salaries north of $20 million per picture, a sum that dwarfed every other actor in Hollywood. The numbers weren't just headlines, they were weapons. Every opening weekend, box office reports arrived like battle results. The Rocky franchise, with 8 films, racked up more than $1.7 billion worldwide. Rambo added another $819 million across 5 movies. Schwarzenegger's arsenal was just as formidable. The Terminator franchise alone pulled in over $2.1 billion, with Total Recall and True Lies pushing his career totals even higher. These figures weren't lost on either man. Stallone tracked Arnold's grosses, Arnold tracked Sly's. Agents leaked numbers to the trades, fueling rumors and raising stakes, even the smallest margin. $1 million here, A few percentage points there became a reason to push harder, to demand more. In the press, they traded barbs about who was the true king of action, but behind closed doors, the financial scoreboard drove every decision. For Stallone and Schwarzenegger, dominance wasn't just about biceps or bullets. It was measured in contracts signed and dollars banked. The rivalry had become a high-stakes arms race, and both men were determined to win at any cost. Insults didn't just fly in interviews, they landed like body blows. Stallone and Schwarzenegger waged a cold war behind the scenes, turning Hollywood into a battleground of leaked rumors and calculated moves. When word got out that Arnold was circling a script, Stallone's team would quietly tip off the trades about its flaws. If Stallone's latest film stumbled, Schwarzenegger's camp made sure the press knew about every bad review. Agents played both sides, feeding gossip that kept the rivalry in the headlines and the tension razor sharp. The sabotage wasn't limited to the press. Schwarzenegger famously baited Stallone into taking the lead in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot by pretending he wanted the role himself. Stallone, determined to beat his rival to the punch, signed on, only to watch the film crash and burn while Arnold laughed from the sidelines. Stallone later called it one of the worst decisions of my career, a move engineered by a rival who knew exactly how to manipulate the game. Even at industry events, the feud was impossible to ignore. Publicists kept the stars apart, but the energy in the room changed when both arrived. Bruce Willis, drawn into the crossfire as a mutual friend and Planet Hollywood partner, sometimes found himself playing referee, cooling tempers, steering conversations, and making sure the tension didn't boil over in front of cameras. Every interaction was a test of ego, every handshake a silent dare. The rivalry, once about muscle and movies, had become psychological warfare, leaving both men exhausted and increasingly isolated at the top. In 1991, the launch of Planet Hollywood forced Stallone and Schwarzenegger into a new kind of arena, one with bright lights, microphones, and business contracts. No longer able to hide behind agents or publicists, they found themselves shoulder to shoulder at shareholder meetings and press events. Bruce Willis joined as a third partner, often standing between them as an uneasy buffer. The cameras loved the spectacle, two action titans grinning through clenched teeth, signing autographs, and fielding questions about a friendship that didn't exist. Every joint appearance was a test of patience. That forced proximity stripped away some of the armor. Watching each other interact with fans, seeing the nervous energy behind the bravado, they began to catch glimpses of the human beneath the myth. The rivalry, which had thrived on distance and rumor, started to crack under the weight of constant, unavoidable contact. What began as a business partnership would slowly chip away at years of hostility. In 2011, headlines around the world chronicled the collapse of Arnold Schwarzenegger's marriage after revelations of infidelity. The public scandal stripped away the armor of invincibility, exposing a side rarely seen. In 2012, Sylvester Stallone faced his own heartbreak when his son Sage died suddenly at age 36. The pain was raw, impossible to hide behind action hero bravado. In this moment of shared vulnerability, Schwarzenegger reached out, not as a rival, but as a father who understood loss. Stallone has described the gesture as genuine and deeply moving, the first time he saw Arnold not as a competitor, but as a friend. Their connection grew stronger on the set of The Expendables. The Expendables franchise went on to gross over $804 million across 4 films. By the time they wrapped Expendables 3, Stallone publicly called Schwarzenegger his brother and said, "I love this guy." Years of animosity gave way to a bond built on respect, empathy, and hard-won affection. Today, Stallone and Schwarzenegger call each other brothers, proof that even the fiercest rivalries can evolve into respect. In an era obsessed with competition, their candor reminds us that vulnerability and empathy outlast box office numbers. Sometimes the real legacy is learning who we become when the rivalry ends.